So earlier this year, and this is at the start of the year, I actually thought I was going to have to get knee surgery. I've had a lot of challenges with my knees and joints on the back of a very athletic career, I'll call it. I think this being a mix of once upon a time it was a tradie, which is quite manual labor and heavy labor, and then also just what I've put my body through with regards to gym, cycling, our running adventures, all the rest. Like I had some issues, let's just say. Now, I had come to the idea that, and again, this is where I think we got to be really careful of the beliefs and stories we sell ourselves on. I had come to the idea that my knees were just fucked, in all honesty, and that the solution to dealing with my knees is just to get surgery every 7 years, it appears. So far in my life, every so often I go in and get arthroscopes done or whatever needs to get done. He fixes them up, then I go and brutalize them for the next 7 years, and then we do this all over again. However, it had been suggested to me that there's another way to kind of address these things. And there's this guy on YouTube called, I don't know, is his name? I'm pretty sure his name's Ben, but his program is Knees Over Toes. So this is a guy that had had several knee reconstructions, and he'd been able to actually fix his knee issues, not through surgery, although he'd had plenty of them as well, just like me, but he'd actually undergone a bit of a different program to heal his knees. Now, I was very skeptical of this, but my third best investment is now his program, the Knees Over Toe program. So it costs like $200, I think, for the months I was in it on the subscription, maybe a little bit more. And I got the app on my phone and did that program at the gym. Completely fixed my knees, ankle issues, and lingering injuries that were kind of nagging away at me. So easily my third best investment of the year.
How insane. I think that investment in health, and it's so funny, by the way, that all three of our points have kind of followed a similar theme.
I think people are onto us that we probably did some episode prep.
I'm sitting here surprised. I'm like, whoa, Charlie, how coincidental that they weren't all properties. Jeepers. But I love investing in health. But you know what? I always think of, and you and I talk about this a lot, is like, well, how can we like improve? How can we mitigate risk? And I always look at things like Knees Over Toes guys as like, well, what is the risk of doing this thing? Like what is the risk of you trying this new program out for a month or two and it not working? Well, you go back to an arthroscope and what you were going to do anyway. So I always look at this and go, well, it's always worth it, because if you were to find the one thing that unlocked it, you win. Because I did the same on my shoulder. There's a guy called John Kirsch, I think his name is, and he used to do shoulder surgeries, and he wanted to avoid shoulder surgeries. And he's like, well, what do people just need to do? And he wrote this entire book around like dead hangs. And then I did the dead hangs and my shoulder was fine. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like these things of, well, there was no downside to what you were doing anyway. And now you look at this huge upside, like your knees sound like they're better, and it sounds like this thing has worked. Yeah. So, yeah, I look at this and I'm like, well, what made you look at that and say, I think this might be the thing that would help it versus anything else that people are touting?
Right. So what's been an interesting thing in Victoria is because of the shutdowns that we had in the last few years, what's actually ended up happening is there's massive waiting lists for elective surgery. Huge. It's actually quite difficult to get surgery done, to get in and jump through the hoops that were required at this time. So when I went to my surgeon to look at these things, when he gave me the timelines to get things done, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to manage this. And what I found is like I was actually like throughout my day thinking about my knees. Like it was becoming like like my mind is consumed on my knees, not on business or whatever I was doing. So for like a week straight, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go for a walk. I'd go for a walk and I'd be listening to a podcast, but I'd be looking at my knee, thinking about my knee, or like I'd be coming and playing with Jack. And it's like, and this is the one that, you know, really like, twist the knife. Is like, I can't do that activity on the ground like that. It'll hurt my knee. So, I can't go on the trampoline, hurt my knee. I'd be jumping like a pro now, just a side note. But the point being was that it was like really impacting like just negative thoughts about knees and like, have I become this guy who's going to have to say no to going on the trampoline all the time in that example? So that the consumption of my thought in dealing with this problem was huge. And I look at it and go, how I quantify this as the best investment is I've now got all that thinking space back. If I had, and I still would, just to be clear, this was the start of the year's happened, I still wouldn't have had surgery if I had gone the route I was looking at. Because the surgeon who worked on me was that backed up. And he also had to have some time off for something he noted as well. But it's like he was experiencing immense challenges of his own. It was just going to be painful. And then to the other side of it, if I got surgery, the time away from business.
Yep.
Having to go through the rehab, all the appointments, all the things that go with it. So for the sake of $250 and doing this workout routine at the gym when I go anyway, so no time increase really, one of the best investments of the year.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into creating wealth inside and outside your business, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.